Hey everyone, this is PM Sport Talk, the father and son duo podcast. I'm your host Preston, alongside my father Mike and Dad. How are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Lots to talk about this weekend. A wonderful weekend of sports as we get close to Christmas here. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. So, with Christmas upon us in 2 days as this episode's being recorded, that means we are inching closer to NFL playoffs. And you're probably thinking, if you're not up to date with college football somehow, hey, we got playoffs to look forward to on January 1st or New Year's Eve. Not this year. Playoffs are already started. It started on Friday with Notre Dame taking on Indiana. And as everyone expected, this was an absolute butt-whooping. You take a look at the score, it means absolutely nothing. This was 20-3 at some point in this game. Ended a lot closer with 17-27 or something like that. And yeah, this just shows you that Curt Cignetti is an absolute clown that should not open his mouth before games.
Yeah, I didn't think he would do that, was dumb enough to do that again, but like he did before Ohio State. And once again, this guy is something else. He's won nothing.
Before we take a look or get into it, I want to take a look at what we're referencing here. Curt Cignetti, before this playoff game, was on College Game Day, and take a look at what he said.
You know, and I've never beat a top 25 team. Well, you know, Coastal Carolina, back when we were little James Madison, moving up to the Sun Belt, they were 22nd end of the year. We beat them 47-7. Okay. So we don't just beat top 25 teams, we beat the shit out of them. Okay. Google him. Google him.
Well, Dad, there you saw in the audience, there you saw Curt Cignetti being his little cocky self saying, we don't just beat top 25 teams, we beat the crap out of them. And I don't know what he's referencing. You beat Nebraska when they were in the top 25. Now they're not. I'm not sure what you're talking about. You could have, I don't know. You could have chose a better time to say this, because I know his dumb little brain was going to say that anyway at some point, but he decided to say it before his team, his boys, played in South Bend in a playoff game against Notre Dame.
Yeah, he's something else. We didn't see it in that clip because it was just a short clip. But before that, in that same setting there where he was, when they asked him about top 25 teams, he referenced when he was at last year. He coached James Madison when they beat Coastal Carolina. Who was ranked in the top 25. Dude,
this guy
we're talking about Indiana, not talking about you at James Madison. But Coastal Carolina, what's that have to do with Indiana? Nothing.
You beat, and then he mentions Nebraska, like I said. That was this year, and now they're not top 25. You played a freshman quarterback, Raiola.
They may have played Iowa too, who at the beginning of the year was in the top 25, who is not now.
This is Notre Dame. This is one of the best college football programs of all time, Curt. So if you're going to go out there and say you're going to kick Notre Dame, you're going to kick them in their home setting, I don't know what in the world you think I don't know who you think you are. I'll just say that. Who do you think you are, Curt Cignetti? You played Ohio State, and you got what you deserved. You got what you said, and you got it handed to you. So we go back to that Ohio State game. When Ryan Day ran up the score, I think he did that for a reason. It wasn't because they had something against Indiana's team. It wasn't because of something the players did. It was because of that no good Curt Cignetti.
Yeah.
He just gets me. He hits a nerve. And it's because he acts like he did something when he's never done anything. You take a look at the teams he's beaten.
His famous line is, Google me, I win, or I win, just Google me. Well, what have you won? maybe you won at James Madison, but this isn't James Madison. This is Indiana. Yes, you won 11 games, but you played nobody. The teams on your schedule that could have been good, Michigan and Washington and all that.
They were not good this year.
There was a down year for them, so you didn't beat it. You beat the guys on your schedule. Kudos. I give you credit, except for Ohio State. But you didn't beat anybody that of significance that was good this year. Mm-hmm. So you have nothing. You have no leg to stand on. The one team you played that was good, Ohio State, you got blown out. So what are you doing? Now you're going up on national TV before the game, riling up Notre Dame. And, I mean, you didn't need to rile up anybody because, when you went into that game, your play calling, which I don't know if he lets his offensive coordinator do all the play calling or if he has his hands on that. But if he doesn't, I don't know what they're doing because they were their most conservative play calling I've ever seen in my life. Run, run, pass. Run, run, pass. Run, run, pass the whole game. And they did nothing until the game was over at the end. The score was 27-17. The game wasn't that close. It was 20-3 in the fourth quarter. They got lucky with an onside kick. And
they punted the ball when they were down 20-3 in the fourth quarter.
9 or 10 minutes left?
You got to go for it, Kurt.
At midfield. What are you doing?
Hey, he talks all this big game, but clearly right there, he wasn't confident enough in his self and his team to go for it there. And that right there tells you all of what Curt Cignetti is. All bark, no bite.
Yeah, he talks big, but he coaches small. And yeah, he's got a lot to prove. I got to see a lot more from him in the coming years.
Yeah.
And if he comes back next year and is like this again next year, cocky as all can be, and they don't win anything, then I don't know. Somebody needs to look into him because he's not right if he's going to keep doing that. It's like I understand you want to be confident and all that, but you got no basis to be that act like that. If you want to go on there and I don't expect you to go on game day and be like, oh, I don't know, we're not gonna, obviously you're going to be confident. You're going to say, yeah, we got a really good chance to win and all this, but he took it to a whole nother level that made no sense whatsoever.
Didn't need to. And
he's done that twice now, and twice he's gotten blown out. So you might want to come up with a different strategy, Curt Cignetti, next year.
Yeah. And the amount of attention he gets is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. Next game we want to go to is Ohio State and Tennessee. This was a big storyline. The committee with the other teams that got into this playoff, Indiana, SMU, Clemson. Clemson was going to get in because they won their division. But the CFB watchers, I'll say, weren't very too pleased with, especially Indiana getting in. And I saw kind of mixed reaction, more in favor of SMU should have been left out. But Tennessee is a team that got in, and no one had a problem with it because, Dad, they're from the SEC. And they got blown out. 42 to what? 10, 17?
42-17.
Oh, my goodness. And let me tell you, you see the hat? Obviously, I'm supporting. But I do have an apology to make, and that's to Mr. Coach Ryan Day. And, man, he proved me wrong because after that Michigan game, I was like, this guy cannot get the big win that Ohio State needs. He can't get over the hump with Michigan, especially. And now he goes out there after that tough loss. They haven't played a game since that Michigan game. He's heard all the noise. He's heard all the Columbus fans calling for his firing. He's heard all the media. First Take, mainly ESPN. I'll put ESPN as a whole with that. And Ryan Day shuts it all out. He says, I'm going to do my job and coach these kids, and the shoe is going to be rocking. He was right. Ryan Day coached a great ball game, and I just don't want to see a switch up again if they lose to Oregon next week, because that is a number one squad that they almost beat in the regular season, and Ryan Day, kudos.
Absolutely. That was stunning to me. I believe I picked Tennessee on our show last week to beat them. not that I was surprised Ohio State won, but I did not expect that. They absolutely whooped up on them. That first quarter was just nuts, up 21-0 in like a blink of an eye. That's an SEC team, Tennessee, that deserved to be there and should have been there. Mm-hmm. Finished third in the SEC, beat Alabama in the regular season, played Georgia tough. They lost, but they played them tough. They deserved to be there, and so you can't say boo about that, and they got blown out. So I think it just goes to show how important it is to be the home team in these games. Because that place was nuts. Cold weather, Tennessee, they're not used to that. I'm not saying that's why they lost. They just got outplayed, which is surprising to me because Tennessee's got a big offensive line, big defensive line, and, you know, they got whooped. No other way to put it. And kudos to Ohio State, and they're moving on.
Yeah, Ohio State. And, Dad, another person that really impressed eyes was Mr. Will Howard, shutting out the noise. Everyone thought this guy is no business being Ohio State's quarterback. He's just another glorified Kyle McCord, all that stuff. And he shut it out, and he played an excellent game.
He played by far the best game I've ever seen him play. Played a great game. I think his final stats, I think he only had like 4 or 5 incompletions the whole game.
Right.
And, he played great, led that team. Can't say anymore. He was awesome. Big reason why they won. Him and the defense. And just, yeah.
Well, I mentioned I did this for a reason. Ohio State and Notre Dame were the first 2 games to go over because there is 2 players, one from Notre Dame, one from Ohio State, that obviously was the difference maker in these ones. Ohio State, their freshman wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith. This was his first ever playoff game, and he had over 100 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. You flip it to Notre Dame, another Jeremiah Love, 98-yard touchdown, and he was phenomenal rushing the ball. And those 2 were my impact players from those 2 games. And is it coincidence that they're both named Jeremiah? I'll let y'all decide that.
Yeah, they played awesome. Jeremiah Love, he's great. He's going to be a great NFL running back. Jeremiah Smith, freshman, looks like a senior. Looks NFL ready. Can't go to the NFL right now, but he could if it wasn't for the age limit. He could go right now. He's good. He's that good. And they were phenomenal. Great for them.
Next game we're going to go over, I think they should be pretty quick. SMU and Penn State wasn't a game at all. SMU, they moved the ball, couldn't really get they couldn't score. That was the problem, and Penn State took that and ran with it.
Kevin Jennings absolutely killed SMU. 2 pick sixes he threw, another interception he threw. They were moving the ball, and he would just throw a pick 6, and it just killed. The Indiana game and the SMU game were similar in 2 ways. The Indiana game started out against Notre Dame with Indiana moving the ball and got all the way down and the quarterback Rourke threw the interception on the Notre Dame 2-yard line. Mm-hmm. And who knows how that game changes if they punch that into the end zone instead of throwing the pick there. SMU game was kind of similar. SMU got down, was moving the ball against Penn State, got down into the red zone, and he threw a pick 6. And, well, I don't know if he threw a pick 6 on that one, but he threw an interception. And then the game just spiraled out of control for both of them after that. And Kevin, the 2 pick 6s, and their defense couldn't handle the running game from Penn State. And like you said, it was 28-0 at the half. And, yeah.
A lot of people said that SMU shouldn't have made this playoff. I think they did enough in the regular season. I think judging them based on this game alone is completely unfair.
I totally agree.
Completely unfair. They people look at that one game against Clemson that they lost to, and I'm going to say this, if the score at halftime or the third quarter stayed how it was, I don't think you see SMU in this playoff. But that comeback, even though they weren't able to finish it, that right there, I think, showed the committee enough to put them in. And people forget, they went undefeated in conference play that whole season until the ACC championship game. Take that as you will. I mean,
Yeah, they belong. You can't. That's the problem that they're going to have to deal with the selection, is what they're doing with the conference championship games, because SMU was like you said, undefeated, and they lost in the conference championship game. So you're going to say that they don't go to the tournament because they lost in the conference championship game?
Mm-hmm.
If there was no conference championship game, they would have got the automatic bid for winning the regular season.
Right.
If you go that route and you get rid of the conference championship games and just go by the regular season, then they would have been in anyway. So I get the argument with Indiana because they didn't play anybody and they didn't win their conference and all that. Fine. If you don't want to put them in, I have no problem. But SMU is the one where you can't say they didn't belong, because they did.
yeah.
And unfortunate for them, he threw some pick sixes and the game just spiraled out of control because, like I said, they were moving the ball against Penn State.
Right.
So it just one of those games. But I totally agree with you, and I disagree with all these people saying that they don't belong. They did belong. It just was one of those games for them.
Penn State is a very good team. You can look at their offense and the quarterback only, Drew Aller. They think, oh, this kid doesn't have what it takes. Fine. If you believe that, whatever. They have good running backs. 2 good running backs. And you look at that defense, outstanding.
And they have the top tight end in the country with Warren.
Yeah.
I think it's Warren, right?
Tyler Warren, yeah.
And they lost to Ohio State, but that game was close. Mm-hmm. They had a goal line stand. If they score in that goal line stand, that game, totally different game there.
Right.
Ohio State pulled away at the end, made it look a little. I don't even remember what the score was in that game, but that game was close all the way.
Yeah.
Ohio State was the better team, but that was a close game. It's not like the Indiana game with Ohio State. That was a close game. They're a good team. Do I think they're going to win this? Probably not, but they're a good team. So, yeah.
Well, with that being said, I think me and my dad's opinion, SMU belong in that playoffs. It's clear. Penn State's a really good team. You can't discredit them. But our final game to go over was Texas and Clemson. Now, this one I had some hope for Clemson because Texas obviously looked good all year, but Ewers has been struggling a little bit. Maybe Clemson can make this interesting, and they did at the end. But they might have killed themselves. At the beginning, they got the ball first. They went down on their opening drive and scored a touchdown. And the player that scored that touchdown hit that celebration. After that, Texas went on to score 21 unanswered.
Yeah, he got a little ahead of himself, didn't he, there? When I thought the same thing when I saw that. I'm like, what's this guy doing?
Night on the opening drive.
Opening drive, you're saying night? What are you doing?
You got, what, like 45 minutes left, almost an hour left to play in the game, and you hit that.
Yeah.
That's a fourth quarter celebration, not a first opening drive, Sally.
Yeah, that's a, go up by 2 touchdowns with 5 minutes to go celebration. Not at the first quarter with 5 minutes.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before.
First I'm like, is that what he meant? Was he meaning something else? But I'm like, what is this guy doing? I'm like, yeah, and like you said, right after that, boom, boom, boom. And even though Clemson kind of would get close a little bit, Texas was just kind of toying with them, I felt. They ran for almost 300 yards in that game. They have 2 great backs, and Ewers didn't have to do a lot. He played a good game. He didn't have to do a lot. That game, what was the final score? Was it 2 touch 38 to
24, probably
24, something like that. 14 points or so. It wasn't really that close.
Yeah, this is not the Clemson you're used to seeing. This is a team that has a long way to go. But They have to be happy with how their quarterback played, Cade
He played
Klubnik.
great, yeah.
No, this whole season, though. I mean, the season before this, everyone thought this guy is awful. Like, when will Clemson find their new quarterback to play for them? And he's right there. It just took a little bit of developing, and he played a really good season this year.
Yeah, and is he a senior?
I mean, I think he's a sophomore.
Is he only a sophomore?
Mm-hmm.
Sophomore or junior? Wow. Because I was thinking, I'm like, man, if he played himself into the NFL with this season, and if he's got another year to go, then he can only get better probably. So, yeah. No, he played great. Played great in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Threw for like 350 yards, and yeah, their defense just could not stop Texas. And
Yeah.
just we knew that Clemson probably was. You had hopes that maybe they would keep it close, but I mean, they did a little bit, but they just didn't. They just weren't. They didn't have the team to compete with Texas, and when Texas is flying on all cylinders, they might be the team to beat. So, yeah.
And I know we're stuck in college right now, but next week, or excuse me, New Year's Eve and day, we have some great more playoff football, Dad, and I'd like to preview those games if you're all right with that. Let's get into it.
Sure. First up, there's one game on New Year's Eve. It's 7:30. That's Penn State and Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl, I believe.
I think we look at this game. Obviously, your player to watch for Boise State's going to be Ashton Genty. And then look at Penn State. They got so much guys. On defense, their first round projected defensive player, Abdul Carter, when he is going to be a problem, I think, for their passing game. And they rely a lot on that run game. So
if they can't run the ball, they're going to get absolutely smoked.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Boise State has. Well, I mean, they almost beat Oregon, so you got to hope that they can keep it competitive.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I'm not really sure how to read this game. This game I'm not sure. I got to be honest with you. The other games, I'm pretty sure. I think I know how they're going to go, but this could be a close game. This could be an absolute waxing by Penn State. I'm just not sure. I don't know. That's what makes it interesting. I hope they can keep it close because I'd love to see it.
Yeah, this is going to be, and I think you look at this game as it's either going to be really close or an absolute blowout and no in between.
Yeah, it could go either way. I really don't know how to read this game.
It's going to be, I guess we'll just have to wait to see. And then we are going to look to New Year's Day. I'm going to save the best game for last. But the other games we got, I believe, we got Notre Dame and Georgia. And remember, there's going to be no Carson Beck this game. They're going to have to prepare Gunnar Stockton to face Notre Dame.
This is another tough one.
I'm going to be honest here. I think Notre Dame, not easily, but I think they have the advantage in this game. Because you don't know how Georgia's passing game will be.
That's the unknown. We don't know this quarterback. He didn't play good when he played last time.
I don't think you can judge him off that, though.
You can't because he didn't have time to prepare.
He was not prepared, yeah. Now, they knew Carson Beck won't be ready, so they can prepare him for their offense. He's
had 2 or 3 weeks now that he's the starter, so he can, like I said, I just don't know if I can believe if Notre Dame is for real, then I think they should win. But if it's the Notre Dame that we just is not quite there yet, then I think Georgia wins. I gotta tell you, these games are all tough.
Yeah, they are. I think it's gonna be a great week of football. It's gonna be a lot better than that first round. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it should absolutely be better.
And then you look at Texas. They got Arizona State.
This one I know.
I think Texas got that.
I think Texas absolutely annihilates them.
Mm-hmm.
I like the running back for Arizona State, but their defense, I don't see any way, shape, or form that they can stop that Texas offense. I got another 38-20 type game for Texas in this one.
Yeah. And then the game everyone's looking forward to, the Rose Bowl, Oregon, Ohio State.
This one, I think I don't know exactly the result, but I know that this is going to be a very close game. This is going to be, a 27-24 type game, something like that. I think either team could win it, but it's going to be that type of game, and we'll probably have our picks at the end, so I'll save it for that. But I don't know exact. I could see it going either way, but I do expect a very close game.
So those are your playoff games coming up. I think it's going to be great. Great football being played, and we'll just have to see how they go. Like he said, we're going to do our predictions at the end. So now we can get into the big leagues, the big boys, the NFL. And we had some storylines, some games that are interesting. It was kind of a weird week, I'll say.
Yeah, it is a weird week because having the games on Saturday. Of course, we had the Steelers. That was a big game, and they lost. So
I want to start on Saturday, the game before the Steelers.
Yeah.
We saw in the Texans game how Tank Dell went down with an injury, and he's done for the year. But I don't know if you saw this yet, Dad. The Texans have claimed a familiar face, Deontay Johnson.
I did see that just before we started this. And, yeah, hopefully he's got a little more ambition for them than he did for the Ravens. Because
I don't know. Is this the Texans' strategy as they're playing the Ravens this Wednesday?
Yeah, so, I don't know how much he's going to play, but I mean, he's a talented guy. I don't know what happened with him and the Ravens. I just don't. It's weird. Hopefully the Texans can get something out of him because he did nothing for the Ravens. I don't think
the Ravens had any intention of using him anyway. I mean,
why would they traded for him though?
Yeah.
It's one thing for Houston. They picked him up off waivers. That's no big deal. But Ravens actually traded player for him or a draft pick or whatever they did. So that tells me that they were expecting him to do something. He never even played. What did he play? One game?
Yeah.
And then he played a couple plays, and that was it.
So this week was let's go to NFL Sunday. This week, I think, was a big week for rookie quarterbacks. And I'll name 3 quarterbacks that I have in mind. Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and the player that made his NFL debut this Sunday, Michael Penix Jr., and he impressed me.
Yeah, they all 3 of them played really well. Jaden Daniels, we already know.
Maye, sorry.
How he's been doing all year. He's been flashy, been really good. Been kind of quiet the last few weeks, but he came on big yesterday, got a big win for comeback against the Eagles. Drake May played very well against the Bills until the end there. Mm-hmm. And Michael Penix, his first game starting, wasn't spectacular, but he didn't make any mistakes. They moved the ball, they got the win, good win for his first one.
And he did throw his first career interception, but that's a stat sheet thing. You look at the actual play, Kyle Pitts had the ball in his hands. It was a perfect throw, and he dropped it right into the hands of a defender. So, besides that, Michael Penix playing really phenomenal this game.
Yeah, so we'll see now with Tampa Bay losing. They've got
that makes it a lot interesting. They make a quarterback change this late into the season, and they might win their division.
If they win their last 2, they're in, and Tampa's out. They have the tiebreakers, so all they have to do is win. And they play Washington this weekend, so that's a tough game, and they probably finish up with New Orleans, I think. So, but so great for him. Kirk Cousins' era is over there. Wouldn't last very long, and it's over already. So Michael Penix. So when they drafted him, we thought there's a chance he might play, and sure enough, he's playing and did. For a first game, he did very well, and we'll see what goes from there.
So the Falcons swept Tampa Bay. So here's where it gets interesting, Dad. You look at the playoff picture for the NFC. If the Falcons win out, they're in. They win their division. no matter if the Buccaneers win out. But here's the thing. If Washington, I mentioned how the Falcons have to win out, right?
Right.
They play Washington, so they have to beat the Commanders. If the Commanders lose their last 2 games, right, and the Buccaneers win out, Bucs will get that last seed, and the Commanders are out.
Really?
Because the Buccaneers got the head-to-head.
Oh, wow. That is interesting. So Commanders have to win at least one of their games.
Yeah.
And they play...
They play the Falcons, and then their last week, who do they got? They don't have...
Is it Dallas or the Giants?
It's Dallas.
Dallas is probably going to play hard. Mm-hmm. They played hard.
And it's a division rival. If they have a chance, they are going to want to kick them out.
Yep. That could make it interesting. If Atlanta wins, that's going to make it very interesting. I didn't realize that Tampa Bay could still get in without winning the division.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's something that I didn't know. Yeah. For our sake, I hope it works out because there's not a lot really at stake in the AFC in the playoff, other than a few things. Most things are already sewn up, So that I hope that comes to fruition because that gives us something to watch for on the weekend.
Yeah, I just realized that after the Buccaneers lost, they went to the hunt. I saw on the thing there, the screen that NBC showed. I was like, wait a minute. You look at the Commanders there, Buccaneers can still get in without winning that division. So it's definitely going to be. I actually am with you. I really hope it comes down to that. And I'm trying to get this. Can the Colts have the Texans clinched the division yet?
Texans have clinched the division. That's over.
Oh, so wait. Okay, because I thought if the Colts won out and the Texans lose out, there'd be a chance.
No. I don't know if the Colts can still get in, but I know Miami can still get in. Cincinnati can still get in. So there's some things that can go on.
Well, yeah, it says they're still in the hunt. Let's go back to that playoff picture. Because the Colts are still in the hunt there. They are the number 1 team in the hunt. So,
right. So Colts, Dolphins, and Bengals all can get in. Bengals play the Broncos this coming weekend. That's a huge game. If the Bengals win that game, and then beat Pittsburgh in their last game, and Denver loses to Kansas City, their last game, and then the Colts or Dolphins lose one game, then Bengals would be in.
Somehow that drastic season can turn into good for the Bengals.
A lot has to happen, but they can still get in. I mean, Denver losing, I don't know if a lot of it depends on if Kansas City beats Pittsburgh or not.
So I guess that AFC, you do have something to look forward to there.
Yeah, you never know. A lot of things have to happen for either one of those 3 teams to get in. But, it's the NFL.
The rest of the wild card spots, though, are done, though, right? Who else is in there? The Chargers?
Chargers and Broncos.
So Ravens have clinched, so that will come down to the North for seeding-wise. But the Chargers and Broncos are both same record.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, so...
So the Chargers 94% right now to make it, and the Broncos fall to a 76 after losing to LA on Thursday.
Right. So I'm not positive, but I think they both could make it or they both could not make it still. If they both have to lose out, but which probably won't happen. But yeah, we'll know a lot more after this weekend. But it could be the last 2 wild card spots could still be up for grabs for the last game of the year, depending on what happens this weekend. Mm-hmm. So, and then in the NFC, you still have the only other thing besides that last wild card is the Rams and Seattle for the division. And that could come down. They play each other the last week of the season. So in order for that to be meaningful, the Rams would have to lose this weekend and Seattle would have to win.
Mm-hmm.
And then that last game that they play week 18 would be for the division.
Yeah, this would be... You see a lot of possibilities, and it would be great to see some drama in week 18, for sure.
Yep.
So that is your current playoff state right now. I don't want to go over too much games because all these are... We're in the end game, Dad, and that's really what matters right there, that big playoff picture.
That's the big thing right there. Like I said, the top 4 seeds in both divisions are pretty well set. It's just those last couple spots. and other than the Rams and Seahawks for the division. I believe that's No, the NFC West. 2 divisions in play: NFC West and the NFC South. All the other divisions are already done, basically. Well, no, I'll take that back. The Vikings and Detroit, they could flip-flop.
Yeah.
One could win the division, and one could be the 5th seed.
So what are these? Is Detroit, Minnesota week 18?
I think they play this weekend, right? No, they play Green Bay. So, yeah, it would be week 18. So they're going to have to play that. Depending on what happens this week, that game might mean something, too. So they won't be able to rest their starters if they want. They're going to want to win the division because the winner of that game, if they both win this week, is going to get the 1 seed. So they're going to have to play that game all out.
Right.
So that could be interesting, too. So there's more things there than you think, I guess, but it all depends on this weekend. If things fall into place this weekend, then there won't be any drama week 18. But if these little things that we talked about happen, then there could be a lot of drama for that week 18, which I hope we get.
Week 17 is going to be a big one. Could be the leadoff for week 18. A lot to look forward to this weekend in the NFL. With that being said, we're going to the plays of the week. First play of plays of the week, Dad, comes from Notre Dame in Indiana. Here is the handoff to Jeremiah Love. Love is free, and Love is down the sideline, and Love turning on the afterburners. Jeremiah Love is going to go 98 yards to the house. Touchdown, Irish.
And the game was over, basically.
That was the flip. Rourke throws the interception, and Love takes advantage right away. How about that, Dad?
Absolutely. That unbelievable play. First play on offense is a 98-yard touchdown.
Coming from Sunday Night Football, Buccaneers and Cowboys. Baker Mayfield has good protection, is going to let this go deep for McMillan. And this ball is intercepted. Jordan Lewis of the Cowboys. How in the world did he come away with it?
What a play. He just took it away from him as they were falling to the ground.
McMillan looked like he had a touchdown in his hands. Watch this again. You look at that angle and you're wondering, how in the world does Lewis have the football here? It's in his hands.
That's unbelievable.
Rips it away with not even his hand, his arm, it looked like. Right out of McMillan's hands.
What a play.
Coming again from Bucs and Cowboys, Baker Mayfield trying to lead a game-winning drive. He gets away, flips it to White. White running, and White is down. Oh no, he fumbled the football, and Deron Bland has it for the Cowboys to seal it.
Just like the interception, this Bland takes the ball away as he's falling to the ground.
Mayfield, look at this. Everything he can to get that to White, and White just has the ball stolen from him like the Grinch on Christmas.
Yeah, he's got that ball hanging out there loose. Wow. Look at that. As he's falling to the ground, he rips it away.
And you can see right there the ball comes out and he's still up.
Just before his elbow hit the ground. Yeah, what a play. That was it. Sealed the game.
Deron Bland. And, I mean, Dad, just what a game for the Cowboys secondary as a whole.
Yeah, you got to wonder if they'd have played this way all season, what they would be.
Coming from Bengals and Browns, Burrow takes the snap. Burrow steps up, falling to the ground, gets it away to Higgins for 6. Touchdown, Cincinnati.
Man, how good has Joe Burrow been?
He is your MVP if the Bengals have at least 10 wins.
He'd be a runaway MVP if they had a better record.
Wow. How in the world did he get that off? Coming from Commanders and Eagles, Daniels with 10 seconds on the clock, rips it to Crowder. Touchdown, Commanders for the win.
What a win, and that knocks Philly out of the number 1 spot. What a big game for Washington.
You notice Hurts got hurt in this game. No pun intended. Daniels, and he comes through. And, Dad, what a game for Jamison Crowder. This was his first game back from injury. He had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he played great. I would want to play that Commanders team in the playoffs.
Coming from Colts in Tennessee. Hand off to Jonathan Taylor, and Taylor is loose. Taylor past midfield. Taylor will score, and he won't drop the football this time. Touchdown, Indy.
Everybody was thinking the same thing. Hang on to that ball, Jonathan.
And he didn't drop it until he was at the stands.
Yep.
Coming from Vikings in Seattle, Washington. Darnold steps up, lets it uncork for Jefferson. On the money. Touchdown, Vikings.
What a play by the quarterback and the receiver. Another one for Jefferson.
It's 1st and 10 for Miami, looking to keep their playoff hopes alive and end San Francisco's. A toss to Achane. Achane using that blazing speed and say goodbye to the Niners' playoff hopes. Touchdown, Dolphins.
He wasn't even running hard on that, and he still pulled away. His speed is unbelievable. It's like he's just gliding out there.
Look at that. And a toss play that worked for Miami, and that was great awareness as well by Achane. He didn't have that big of a hole, and he got through.
Yeah, he's a hell of a back.
Well, Dad, let's close the podcast with our 2 segments. Let's start off. Who was your top performance and biggest disappointment?
I'll give my biggest disappointment first. It comes from the SMU game. I like the kid, but I got to give it to Kevin Jennings. 2 pick sixes. He just killed his team. And, they didn't have a great chance to begin with, but that just killed him and it was over. So I'll give it to him, the quarterback from SMU. Great season, but just a bad finish. And my top performer, I got to give it to Will Howard of the Ohio State Buckeyes. I've come on the show before and said he's just an average quarterback, but, man, he played an unbelievably great game Saturday night in the cold. His passing was, perfect. Threw 4 incompletions the whole game. Was throwing long touchdown passes. Great game for him. Will Howard, player of the week for me.
Well, we'll start off with my biggest disappointment. It's going to be Curt Cignetti of the Indiana Hoosiers. He is a moron, an idiot. I'm going to try to save my anger, but yeah, he's my biggest disappointment. And let's go to the top performance of the week. They're eliminated from playoff contention, but I'm giving it to the Dallas Cowboys secondary. They played in a phenomenal game. Great plays all over the field against Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. And of course, it's fitting that they won that game from a play from their secondary, in specifics, Deron Bland. My top performance is from them. And let's do predictions. 2 games, Steelers-Chiefs on Christmas Day, and Oregon and Ohio State.
Steelers-Chiefs. I don't know how confident I am in this pick, but I got to go with the Steelers. It's Kansas City. They play close games. It's Pittsburgh. They play close games. So I would expect this to be a close game right down to the end. And I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes runs out of magic. Steelers, 2017 at home, Christmas Day. Oregon, Ohio State. I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to go Ohio State. Like I said before, 27-24, Ohio State.
Let's go with the Steelers-Chiefs for me. It's going to be the Steelers, of course, by heart. The Steelers will win this game, in my eyes, 23-21. Let's go 23-21. And for the Oregon-Ohio State game, I'm going to say another high-scoring game just like the regular season. Give me the Buckeyes 34-30.
I like it.
Well, that will do it for today's podcast. Once again, I'm Preston with my father, Mike, and we will see you guys after Christmas, after New Year's, all the holidays. We'll be back in regular sessions. Have a great holiday season from PM Sport Talk. Goodbye.